All right. Well, welcome and Happy New Year. It's 6 o'clock. So in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. So welcome everybody to our first meeting of the year. If I could please ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You've all received a copy of the agenda. I am going to tell you we need to make one change to it. We are going to remove item 6.01 annual audit report. Our presenter, David Phillips of Green Finney, had a family emergency and is not able to be here tonight. So if I could get a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the amended agenda to remove item 6.01.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the amended agenda is approved. With that, do we have any public participation this evening? We do not. Okay. Then we're going to jump straight into some other staff reports. Oh, did I miss something?
Recognition.
Oh, shoot, I scrolled too far. Hold on. I don't have my printed one. Okay, yeah, so never mind. We're going to go into special recognitions because we have some exciting recognition tonight.
We have some excitement, and I'm going to let the folks who are closely more responsible for them, Joe Burke's coming up, and Gail Scroggs will handle the recognition.
I asked for way down there. Oh, it's because I scrolled down to 6.01. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
You start off here. That we'll still have you out front for the picture with Doom. If I could, tonight I'd like to call forward Ella Borsom and Faith Buckle, along with Mr. Joe McConkey from the Nation Forward Digital Art and Design Program. If you guys would join us up front here. I just want to get a chance to do what I do annually, which is a fun part of the year for me, is to stand up here and recognize the students and their outstanding artwork. It is a joy for me as a graphic artist at heart to be able to work with our students to design a document for the district annually, and this year's did not disappoint. Very proud of the work you guys have put together. But for those of you who don't know, every year the comprehensive annual financial report, the agenda item that we just removed, gets produced by the district. Now, every district produces one of these, but honestly and truthfully, it's one of the few districts that takes the pride in it that we do and works with our students to create a design every year based on a theme we give them. We don't give much direction other than, hey, here's this year's theme. Let's see what you guys can do. And every year, Mr. McConkey students have not disappointed. We've had great response to these. We've really enjoyed the artwork program. And this year's was no different. Ms. Buckle and Ms. Borsom created a wonderful design that celebrates the 20 school sites that we have here in the school district. Their design actually is pretty interesting. It actually focuses on kind of a blueprint design, even though they went with the black and white, which gives it a very professional look. If I can get a page here, they're brand new, so they're still sticking together. But their design included outline drawings of every single site that we have here in the district. Now, that might sound easy, you just sit down there and trace a picture. I can tell you right now, to do that digitally is not easy at all. And to do it for 20 sites in the time that they had to work on this is very impressive. So you guys have done a wonderful job. We're very happy to have this representing our district. It's going to be sent out to the state and to all our financial institutions. And if y'all would, please give them a hand. And
Yeah.
We also have a copy of this to give them tonight so they can keep it in their portfolio moving forward when they get into school if they decide to continue to do this. It's Ms. Borsom.
And I'd remind all the board members that we received a copy for our reading pleasure over the holidays. Now that we're not reviewing it tonight, you have a couple extra weeks to look through it in more detail.
Nice job, ladies.
All right. In a completely unrelated but very similar manner, we worked with Mr. McConkey's students as well as the digital art and design class over at Catawba Ridge. And at this time, I want to recognize one outstanding Falcon, Isaac Fernald. Come forward, please, sir. Isaac was responsible for the 2023-2024 program of studies cover. This is our academic catalog that is updated yearly. He was the ultimate winner out of a competition from both Catawba Ridge and Nation Ford's digital art and design students. Approximately 30 submissions between all the schools, 13 finalists, and his was selected as the top choice. The theme was planning for success, planning for a bright future, and his design, also unrelated to what went on with finance, but also was a blueprint model. So it was a blueprint that's leading to a bright future. And hot off the presses, we received this at 4:03 p.m. I know because I helped open the doors and unload it. So this is the very first copy that was taken out for shipment. So I'm going to make sure he gets a copy of this. And Mr. McConkey also, his students not only were responsible for just outstanding work, but to win a submission in this, also to be recognized with a financial report. It is evidence of the amazing things they're doing over there in that digital art and design program at Nation Ford. All our students are outstanding, but just another feather in the cap of this outstanding program. So at this time, I'd like to recognize Isaac Fernald.
Yeah.
Here's your first edition. Yes, sir.
Nice work.
All right. If I can get Ms. Rudder to come forward. Continuing on with the acknowledgement of outstanding students in the Fort Mill School District, we have a national champ in our midst tonight, back from college to celebrate with us. I had the pleasure of being Melina's principal last year, so we want to recognize her for this outstanding achievement. In January of 2022, 2 forensic club members approached their teacher, who could not be here with us tonight, approached their teacher for chemistry and said, we have an idea. We would like to take our forensic knowledge and put it to the test. So they asked Ms. Kissel, can we do something? Can we extend our knowledge that we're building through our forensic club and put it to the test? And she said, go for it. So the Technology Student Association puts on a state competition, and Fort Mill High School had never had an entrant into it. And Melina and her partner Madison Key walked out of the state competition with first place. They were then invited to compete in Dallas, Texas in the national competition. And again, first year, no experience. These 2 outstanding students walk away with a national championship in forensic science. It's outstanding. Over 60 teams in the nation. They won first place. First year the school's ever competed. The team received their scores back in the fall and received an almost perfect score on their mock crime scene, received praise from the judges for every skill that they demonstrated. Madison, who could not be here this evening with us, is currently a freshman. Let's see, I think they've changed it. Melina is at Roanoke College, majoring in biology, and Madison is a freshman at Clemson University, majoring in animal and veterinary science. So at this time, I would like to recognize our national champ, Melina Rudder.
Well done.
All right. Along with sort of the theme of some exciting recognition type things, we've next got our school spotlight for Nation Ford. You want to introduce that?
We do. So to continue on with our series of school spotlights that we started earlier in this academic year, tonight I would like to call it Mr. Chandler, principal of Nation Ford, and we're going to hear from the Nation Ford Falcons.
Thank you for the opportunity to tell you about one of the amazing programs that we have at Nation Ford. We have a lot of great things happening at our school, as you can see from the previous recognitions of our digital art and design students. We have some amazing programs to get our students college and career ready. we decided to take a different path with this presentation, though, and talk a little bit more about our culture and one of the groups that makes our culture so strong at Nation Ford. We are fortunate to have 28 students in our special settings classes. In some schools, these students are hidden away and don't get a chance to interact with other students, but not at Nation Ford. At Nation Ford, when we say all students should be a part of the Nation Ford family, we truly mean all. Our Club Unify exists to ensure that all means all for our special settings students. Joe, I might need help going. Yeah, yeah. We talked about this before, that it might not work. And as you can see from the pictures, our students have embraced this club and their unified partners. They belong to the Nation Ford family as a vital part, and the benefits are shared by both our students with disabilities and our students without disabilities, which you'll hear more about from these experts that are up here beside us. And I want to stop to say thank you so much for them coming tonight, for them being part of this organization. It's such a great organization, and they give their time for this. So I'm so grateful for them coming tonight. And I'm also so grateful for all the families that are in the audience today of our students. So at Nation Ford, our mission is to support all student learning through faculty collaboration and a sense of family. Faculty collaboration, you know, through PLCs and all the presentations that you've had on that. So that's why we wanted to talk about our sense of family tonight. If you've ever been to a Nation Ford event, you probably met Morgan. This video that's on the slide went viral last year, and she was even interviewed by 2 local news programs. Do you mind playing the clip?
Get the steal! Get the steal!
While we love that Morgan brought attention to our students with special needs, what I'm most proud about is what's continued to happen after that. Morgan is actually still a part of the girls' basketball team. She would be here tonight, but she's actually in Clover competing. If you're curious, she has 8 points on the season so far. She also just has had 2 trips with the team, which is more important. They went to a camp over the summer. She was so excited to spend time with her teammates and share a room with her teammates. And they just got back from a trip to Charleston. When she got back from Charleston, her mom came up to me and said the one thing she was most excited about was the fact that Morgan didn't even want to call her because Morgan was having too much fun, that Morgan was a part of the team. And that just illustrates to me just how important it was for Morgan to be a part of something, to be a part of our school, to be a part of our family. And that's the win for us. Not all students in our special settings classes are in athletics or other organizations, but Club Unify is one organization that allows them to be part of our school family and our school culture. I want to introduce one of our assistant principals, Kate Edwards, to tell you a little bit more.
Can you help me with that? Thank you. Hey, everybody. I'm Kate Edwards, and I'm fortunate enough to be the assistant principal that supports our special education program. I was a teacher at Nation Ford a few years ago, and the first thing I noticed when I was teaching PE, and the inclusiveness of our school. And that's something that we continue to pride ourselves in. And these guys put the in inclusive in our school. When you go to our school, they're in the first hallway. They're the first people you see and you meet. They will greet you. They will pop in your office, whether you're busy or not. They're going to come in and say hey to you. And we love that. And then I'm so impressed with all the young people to watch them just operate together. You know, I think that with school, you know, we're trying to build a community. These kids are trying to find their sense of purpose. And it's a beautiful thing to watch the diversity just get along, you know, so.
Okay, I'm going to hide my notes and pretend I'm not going to read them all. My name is Katie Clinshaw. I am a special settings teacher at Nation Ford, and I am the sponsor of this amazing club. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it, and then I'm going to let my kids take over. But just wanted to say how thankful and honored I was when Mr. Chandler, of all the things we could talk about Nation Ford, that he chose us. And I think Ms. Edwards said a little bit, but when I first interviewed for the position with Mr. Johns, I remember he took me on a tour of the classroom, and I was like, man, this is the first classroom you come to when you walk in the school building. And I was like, heck, that's my kind of place, man, that if we're up front and center, that anytime you walk into the school, that we're who you're going to see. And any school that puts special education students in the middle of everything is something special. Shows their students are valued, that they're appreciated, but they're also seen as equal stakeholders. And I think that's so significantly important that everyone realizes that every kid at that school matters. Nation Ford prides itself on being a family, and tonight you guys are going to see this family. I believe that this is a representation of the true heart of Nation Ford, live and in person. So you are lucky. You have to listen to us, but you get the goods over here. You're going to see two groups of kids that on paper look so different, but somehow in person it all makes sense. Each and every one of these teenagers, you'll see tonight, they're loving, they're kind, they're feisty because they're teenagers. They're brave and they're accepting of each other. However, what I value the most is that these kids are friends. They're truly friends. And because of that, I'm gonna let them tell a little bit more about that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maryfield Spratt, and I'm a junior at Nations Ford. And today I'm here to talk to you about a very special person. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Biba Sinkins.
What grade are you in?
9th.
And are you happy to be at Nation Ford?
Yes.
Are you happy to be here tonight?
Yes.
Very excited.
I am excited.
All right, and that's pretty much every single day for Biba. She literally radiates joy and always makes my day better when I see her at Flex and in the hallways, in the lunchroom, really anywhere. She inspires me to be positive, and she remains positive throughout all of her challenges in life. The outlook that I've had on my life because of Club Unify has changed significantly. Without Unify, I wouldn't know Biba or her classmates, and therefore I wouldn't have the outlook on life that I do. Thank you, Ms. Clinshaw, for giving me the opportunity to grow and learn from Biba and all of my friends at Club Unify. Thank you.
I'm Isabella Roach, and this is Audrey. So when we were first asked on what we were going to talk about, a million things went through my brain. And I was like, couldn't I just say we're the best? It's the truth. Club Unify is an absolute gem in our school, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. I've been a member for 2 years now, and I remember when we were thinking about how many kids we were going to have, we were like, it's not going to be that many. And then we had 90 members this year alone. One thing that I absolutely love is just stopping in and saying hi, whether I have a few minutes in the morning to say hi and you'll get the, are you coming for Flex? Can you come for Flex today? And then when you go to Flex and you get the hi and the Bella and the overall excitement and joy that we're there. And then I know if I had a rough test or if I don't want to get up in the morning, I'm like, hey, at least I have Flex. Yeah. It is the best, and just interacting with the kids is so much fun. And it's like, they always have such a positive look on everything. And it reminds me that I need to be more grateful for things. And I will say, when you're in there, you will get as many hugs and as many smiles as you need to brighten up your day. And I'm so happy that I got the opportunity to join Club Unify. Good, Audrey?
Hi, I'm Tessa Ober, and this is Bryson. And this was my first year coming to Club Unify, and it was truly one of the best decisions I've ever made. Coming to spend time with Bryson is truly the best part of my day. I look forward to talking with him about cars. I would not know as much about cars before Bryson, and I love getting to go on walks with him, and I love getting to answer his unlimited amount of questions. I also enjoy getting to draw chalk with Melanie and lose to her in a bunch of different board games. Club Unify has truly impacted my life in so many ways. I've made so many new friends this year, and I don't know what I would do without it.
Hi, my name is Nikki Letterhouse, and Katie asked me to come and give a parent's perspective because my son has been coming there for the last 2 years. So my son, Luke Letterhouse, is a part of Club Unify during flex time every day. This has become a huge part of his high school experience. He's made many new friends like the other kids have been talking about, and it's helped shape him into a better person. He has made one especially good friend named Josh, and he is all Luke talks about at home. He considers Josh to be one of his very best friends. He and some of his other friends have even taken Josh out to lunch and to hang out at their houses, like at the pool during the summer and during Christmas break. And he just comes home just with the biggest smile on his face. I'm so thrilled that Luke has chosen this club. He's learned to be inclusive, patient, supportive, and respectful. He even chose to write about Club Unify for his college essay because of the impact it's had on him. We easily assume these interactions benefit the Club Unify students, but my husband and I have seen a huge impact on our son as well. This group is incredible, and they have the most amazing teachers. So I would like to share an excerpt from part of Luke's college essay with you. And this is what he wrote. I have embraced the traditionally cliche statement of never judging a book by its cover, but my friends in Club Unify are some of the most amazing people I've had the privilege of knowing. I have also learned that you should always treat others with kindness because you never know what somebody is going through. I continue to strive to be kind to everybody. Furthermore, I've learned that leaving my comfort zone can lead to amazing things. When I joined Club Unify, I ended up meeting some of my best friends for the rest of my life. The statement, never judge a book by its cover, should not be written off as a silly cliche. When you really think about what this statement means, it can change how you treat others. If you refuse to judge a book by its cover, then you may just end up meeting a lifelong friend. And he's done just that. So thanks for your time.
My name's Josh. It's about you.
Tell them something about you.
Be about you.
Tell them. Say something to them about you.
Be about you.
Tell them about you. Sung the national anthem at Special Olympics.
I should be born. Why should be babies?
He did the national anthem.
At Special Olympics. Yes. There you go. Okay, so just if you go to Nation Ford High School, about everybody knows Josh Marino. He's pretty well known. I see a couple fellow members in here and teachers. I could probably say that every one of you knows who Josh Marino is. But I'm actually a part of the I help lead the student section at football games, and we had Josh come and help lead us during a football game. And as we were walking in, Josh was walking next to us, and we were walking up, and you could hear the student section start chanting his name. And I've never seen a bigger smile on his face as we walked in, because if you don't know Josh, he loves the center of attention. Absolutely loves it. But yeah, that's. Did you enjoy that, Josh, that day? You remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. These two will talk more about Special Olympics and.
I'm Grant Robertson. I've been doing Club Unify for a year since I was a junior, and Special Olympics was one of the best days in the school. We got to walk out in front of the whole school, in front of everybody clapping and cheering for him, and it just felt good because most people don't really know about him. They just see him in the hallways, but it was really special to walk out and have everybody cheering for him and excited to see them have fun.
My name's Eric Sprinkle. This is my third year at Club Unify, and when we started coming, a lot of the kids were super shy, but I think Special Olympics was great because they all got out of their comfort zone. It was really fun.
You got anything else?
Are you going next?
My friend, my Garrett, and Kobe.
There you go.
This is Joseph. Oh, my name's Colby. This is Joseph, and this is Hassett. I love coming in every single day. Hassett always gives me hugs. Joseph will always just tag me, and every single day I'm probably tagged like 400 times. I mean, and he's always smiling, she's always smiling. It just really makes me so happy.
I knew I was playing Taggerit, and now I was running fun. I was laughing. Because I was laughing at elephants say, Yeke, Haga, Palo, 2.
Hello, my name is Landon Snuffer, and I'm a very proud member of Club Unify. Club Unify has impacted me in so many different ways I can never even imagine. The experience I have with these kids, I never thought I was going to experience that with someone. I really do love these kids, and it's developed me in as a better person. I love this club, and I can't wait for the next 2 years of high school. I love this club, basically.
You must stand on that side. Hi, my name is Ella Scott, and I'm honored to introduce myself as Club Unified Club President. I can say that there's truly no other place that you would want to be during Flex. Being around these students makes my day 10 times better, no matter what kind of day I've had. And it's more than just a fun Flex. It's seeing them in the hallway and having them run up and saying hi, or hearing them scream your name across the commons. And it's seeing them in the stands during a volleyball match. I suffered a concussion earlier this season, and I was out for 3 weeks. And my first game back, I was going for a ball, and I busted my eyebrow open on the floor. And Blake was sitting in the front row with one of his other teachers, and you can see him in the game film hitting the teacher's leg, freaking out, pointing at the court, because someone he knew, one of his friends, was hurt, and that hurt him. And that just goes to show that this is a bond that goes both ways. This isn't a one-sided thing. This isn't me going to Flex just to say that I'm going to Flex. This is me going to see my friends and to see the people that truly make me happy during the day. And honestly, I don't see any other reason why you would be there besides to see the smiles on their faces every day, no matter what. Thank you.
I put the order of that together. I don't know why I put myself after them. That was not a smart move. Just want to talk about this and then we'll be done. COVID for our kids was really tough. We were in our classrooms on the family model, which was a safety precaution, and I'm thankful that we did that because all of our kids made it through that intense time safe. But part of that meant we lost things like the Special Olympics that typically takes place in Rock Hill. And we just felt like there were so many events that were canceled over and over and over. And I thought our kids can't keep missing this. Like, these are vital things for them to be involved with. So that's where the idea of, these guys call it Special Olympics, we call it Nation Forward Unified Games. So 3 years ago, we decided to have our own unified games where it was just our students with their buddies, and we set up track and field events. Last year, we decided, let's open it up to our other unified groups. If you didn't read the earlier slide, Special Olympics organization is kind of the governing body of unified sports. So last year we decided we would hold Nation Forward Unified Games. We were able to host 63 special settings students from all of our middle and high schools across the district. But what I also thought was really, really cool is that we were able to bring their buddies over. So we brought their middle school buddies over. So these relationships are starting there, and they're just extending and becoming more significant. So if you'd meet someone in 6th grade, 6 years later, you're still with them, which I think is so powerful. Because you see, like, these guys love each other. You know what I mean? They love each other. And God, I'm so grateful for the relationships that we have. The reason we put Polar Plunge up there is not that I'm going to beg you for money, but if you want to give it to us, I'll take it. But the good thing about Polar Plunge, and I guess I wanted a wider audience to know, is that because we're a part of the Special Olympics organization, and Gold Hill Middle School is about to do a big old dodgeball, I saw the principal, big old dodgeball tournament. Lots of schools that are Unified Champion schools, they're raising money for this. I just want to make sure that everyone's aware, like, it's not fun to jump in that water, but whatever each school raises, their school gets half that amount back. So last year, I think we brought $4,000 back in my pocket. When I planned the Unified Games, I was able to buy a t-shirt for every student, for every volunteer, for every teacher, for every adult. And if you know, in a special education class, there are always more than one adult. Was able to pay for that out of my pocket. At the end of this year, I'll be able to pay to take the kids to Carowinds. So if you support a specific school, NAFO's good, make sure when you consider that those teachers that jump in the water are doing it for these guys, to give them experiences, because the experiences for our kids are different, right? They're varied, and they're not always forever. You know, they may not go to college. So everything that we want to do is to create a life for them without limits. And this allows us to do that. So I just wanted it to be known, like, when those teachers, when those schools, I know Kyle at Catawba Ridge, they do a big thing too. It's important for the schools. It makes a lot of money for the schools, for those guys and for their friends. But I won't go on about that. And I just wanted to say, what we continue to build at Nation Forward leads a legacy. And I'm proud to say, and I think this is really important, in the past 6 years that I've been doing this, 4 members of our Unify program have gone on to become special education teachers. We have currently 2 that are student teaching in the field, and another 2 that are freshmen trying to become special education teachers. That doesn't happen right now. Y'all know, y'all know. And then we have 1 more who's majoring in psychology because she dreams of creating an adult program for adults with significant needs. These are awesome kids. It's so amazing if you think about it. And I've been teaching for a long time, 22 years, and there's not one thing I'm prouder of than this group of people. So we thank you guys very, very much. And if as we leave you, I'll promise I'll be quiet, we'll just play a couple seconds of the video when we left to go to the Unified Games. The whole school met us in the hallway. But just notice for a second, that young man right there is Colin, and he's right next to Eric. You just see them stick a hand out and guide these kids in the hallway. They're guiding our kids all the time, and I think it's pretty special. So thank you guys very much, and go Falcons.
Thank you all so much for coming tonight. And I would definitely put in a plug for the Freezing for a Reason. If you haven't been before, it's a lot of fun. I've fortunately not had to jump into the icy water. I love watching you guys, and I'll be happy to hand you towels when you're done.
I'll write a check.
That's right, and write a check. Yeah, checks are well accepted. That's right. Okay, that was fun. We do have some actual business we've got to get to now. Starting with approval of the minutes. Nothing could be drier than that. Approval of the minutes from our December 6th meeting. You guys have all seen a copy. Were there any other adjustments or corrections?
I saw none.
All right, that will stand as presented. And I already asked earlier, but I'll check again. Any public participation? All right, then we will move now into staff reports, starting with 6.02, because as a reminder, we're not having 6.01 tonight. Ms. Lordo.
Thank you. I'm glad you said the minutes were drier than the financial report. I was kind of waiting for that. And I'll just piggyback on what Mr. Burke said. David Phillips sends his regrets that he couldn't be here tonight, but he's looking forward to next month when he can come and share the audit presentation. But I certainly enjoyed being involved with Mr. Burke with the student designs. It is always so interesting to see how creative our students are. It is very tough as we go through those options for the work, the design work. It is so hard to even pick a couple finalists and then to select the winner. So many great entries every year, and we're so proud of our students this year and so pleased with with the options. So we hope that you enjoy the graphics in the audit report as much as we've enjoyed selecting those and finalizing that with the students. And now it was tough to start thinking about what's our theme for this year. So it's very hard. It's very hard to come up with a design that we have so many ideas. But tonight in your packet, I have the monthly financial report for November 30th. The 5th month of the fiscal year. What's important about November is that is the month that we will see the greatest impact on negative cash flow in using our fund balance. That's the month that generally we are going to see the biggest dip going into the fund balance. So this year, total revenues as of November 30th were $55,402,000. Total expenditures, $70,040,000. So we were using fund balance in a total of $14,637,000, which is expected for the month of November. The county did issue the tax bills in October, so we saw some real estate taxes come in November. $4,553,000 in real estate taxes, $451,000 in fee and lieu came in, and once again, vehicle tax collections exceeded $1 million. $1,004,448 in vehicle taxes. I do think that's our new normal now, is $1 million plus a month. There are no other significant variances in November. I did actually check today to see if the state, I'm waiting on the state to do the adjustment on the new funding formula allocations based on the 45-day number submitted. They have not done that yet. I did check this afternoon. That's still not out there. So we'll see what happens. I think all the districts are waiting to see how that impacts them, and it'll give us a good idea of planning going forward to see the difference in what they originally budgeted and what happened with the 45-day counts. So hopefully by next month, we'll be able to let you know that. But before we get into impact fees, any other questions on November year to date? Okay. Impact fees, we had a lot of activity. Since we last met, total collected to date, $55,146,204. We are now at a level of single-family units, 2,038, and multifamily, 1,510. So a total collection of 3,548 units. December was apartment month. We had 34 apartments come on in December. We had one home in December. So it was definitely apartments. Comparable data for 12 months rolling is consistent. We're still about 37% less on single family, but we're now 125% more on apartments for the most recent 12-month period compared to 12 months a year ago. 125% more on apartments. And our December actual collections were $426,000. Our calendar year 2022 average was $861,000 compared to our 2021 average was only $800,000. So we did see our monthly average for 2022. Now that we have 12 months data, we saw our monthly average go up $61,000 in impact fees. The biggest news is for the public. York County Council passed third reading and final reading of our amendment to the Comprehensive Impact Fee Plan on December 22nd by a 4-0 vote, favorable. This amendment adds new future schools. It adds elementary, middle, and high school seat capacity to our plan. It also maintains the current impact fee amounts at the current level. The $18,158 for single family and $12,020 for multifamily. In addition, on January 5th, York County Judge McKinnon signed an order of dismissal for the pending litigation by York County related to the use of the funds. And now the school district and the county have agreed that we are able to use the funds on these schools as passed in the amended plan. So a lot of work went into this the last couple months. We started this process in the summer for the amendment of the plan, and we are extremely pleased to report to you and to the public that we are now at that point and able to start planning for use of the funds on the next schools.
And I'm guessing you have a plan for the use of funds.
We have a plan that we will roll out, of course.
Yeah, congratulations to
Thank you. Yes.
It has been
It has been a long process, a long ride, and we can't say to the public how pleased we are to get to this end result with the county and working with the county and moving forward.
And I think some conversations that Ms. Lordo and I have been in, you know, we realize that being the first in this journey, we've just learned a lot more as we went along. So, and the county's learned a lot more as we went along, and the judges have learned more as they've dug into it as well. So, really exciting to get to this point.
Yes, absolutely. And it is truly for the benefit of all the taxpayers in Fort Mill, TAK area that we are now able to use these funds toward school construction.
Remind me the math, the 55 million, being able to use it versus not being able to use it is a difference of?
About 7 mills. About 7 mills in taxes.
That matters to everybody in our community.
Absolutely. So, yes. Okay.
Questions?
Questions? Okay.
Very excited.
Yes, very excited. Thank you.
Scrolling back and forth is killing me. Our next item is 6.03, academic calendar discussion with Ms. Burke. Sir?
How about that?
Generally around this time of year, we would be coming to you guys as a first reading of the calendar, but this time around, we have set this up where we can actually have a little bit of a discussion about our 24-25 calendar because some of you guys may have seen in the news, there's some new calendars that are appearing out there that kind of meet some of those needs that we've been looking at for years in the hopes of starting early and giving some more time off during the year to teachers, those kinds of things, to staff, to students for planning, remediation, all of that stuff. So tonight we're actually not here for a first reading. I am going to present to you a couple different calendars for us to use as discussion tools and hopefully be able to answer all of your questions about where these are coming from. Yes, sir.
Let's start with clarifying. This coming 23-24 year is set. We're not talking about that.
I was going to reiterate that as part of my presentation.
Please go right ahead.
Yes, so we are not talking about the 23-24. That was actually voted and set by you guys about a year ago. And we have been planning school trainings, returning to school, summer projects, maintenance projects, as well as our community is planning their life around that calendar too. We started doing 2-year out calendars because our community asked for it, our people asked for it, so that we could get these projects and everything lined up and go ahead and have these plans. So no, we are not talking about the 23-24 school year. We're looking ahead 24-25. So I never get to come up and talk to you guys about current. It's always either past or future. So, but yes, so we're going to be looking 2 years out. This is starting in the August 2024 would be this school. That's the school year we're discussing tonight. Yes.
Just for information, Joe, Rock Hill is taking the same strategy we're taking.
Yep.
Clover and York have already approved their calendars.
And changed them for next
it made changes, yes.
But we're looking at Rock Hill, and we want to give people time to rent the beach homes and all that, and not lose that.
And it's time for both. I mean, honestly, we have a lot of things already scheduled and planned for this coming school year. I mean, we're already into January. I can assure you there are already things that are plotted out through December of this year at all of our schools, with either booking people to come in for trainings or trying to get things set for schools, or maintenance projects is a huge one. Obviously, that fluctuates on an exact schedule that needs to be laid out in advance. So, you know, we could throw a lot of problems into the mix if we were looking at making a change this quick for this coming school year. So, yeah, again, we're looking at 2 years out, so nobody panic. It's not going to change that fast. We are going to make sure that we have plenty of time for that. Plus, when we get into some of these things, one of the other things to make you aware of, part of the other reason why it's good that we're talking a year out, is if we were to go to some of the options that we're going to look at tonight, we would need time to plan this. This is a new setup for the district and would require a lot of planning from different departments to make sure that we were able to meet the needs and goals that we would have in making a transition, should we make a transition on one of these calendars. So just keep all of that in mind when we're talking about it. Up first, I'm going to just look at the traditional calendar, or if we're just going forward as we normally go forward, and I was presenting a calendar for you tonight, this is probably what it would look like. And I say probably because this meets all the current standards that we have in the law that we know very well. There's a start date of the third Monday in August. We have our traditional days off with the Thanksgiving break. It is a even year, so we're required to take Election Day, which is the 5th off, so that's another one that gets thrown into this calendar. We have our traditional work days spread out through it. The winter break starts on the 19th, and I'll touch on that in just a second. Spring break right now is scheduled for the 14th through the 18th of April, and then we have our traditional holidays that we have in there. This is one of the worst case scenario calendars that we've discussed many times in the past. The third Monday falling on the 19th and being an election year means the maximum number of days we can get in to the first semester before the winter break is 84. And that's if we pull some of the green days that are on there off. So we would go to, in order to do that, you'd have to go to school on the 19th and 20th just to get to 84 days. After you pull those 2 days off, there are no days left unless you're going to shorten Thanksgiving or you're not going to take traditional holidays like Labor Day. There's just no days there. The way the calendar rounds out, especially with the Christmas holiday coming in on a Monday, Tuesday when you have Christmas Eve roll in, there's no real way to have school on the 23rd unless you're just planning on opening doors and not a lot of people being there. So this is the worst case scenario for a calendar. That means we have to roll the semester over into the next calendar year in order to get a decent number of balanced days. The way that splits out here is pretty close to balance. It's a 91-89 split, which is as close as you can get to 90-90 without having to end the semester in the middle of a week, which means then you have to take a teacher work day to roll the semester and then come back on a Thursday or a Friday. So again, this really is one of the hardest calendars to put together. It's got us ending the first week of June, with last day being on the 5th there, Thursday, and of course estimated graduation date, and I'm going to say estimated because there's so many things that go into that, would be Friday the 6th. So this is what it would look like if there were no other options and we had to follow exactly everything that is currently in the law at this time. So I'll be happy to answer any questions about this before we move on and look at some of the other options if you guys have them.
Because we've looked at calendars so much, yeah. I understand, but I think maybe for the general community, anybody watching, explain why at the holiday break here, why you're adding on those 2 days on the 19th and 20th.
Sure. So the way this works, and when you're building this calendar out, you're not really adding and removing days, you're sliding them from one area to the other. So in order to make the semester end in a relatively good space on the calendar, in other words, to get that 91-89, and if you look in January, you've got the semester ending on a Thursday with the teacher work day on a Friday. I have to backdate into the semester and find days off to be able to make that date work. So if we went to school on the 19th and 20th, what that ultimately means is that that yellow date, which is the teacher work day where we roll the semester, would move back to the 15th.
Or you'd end up with a 94.
Yeah, or you'd end up with a 94, and then you're basically having the same problem, but on the flip side. The first side gets way more days than the other. And we've done that in the past. With this year, we have a shortened semester, and I believe we're at 85 or 86, which is, I think it's 85 is our lowest that we've ever thought about going. But we try not to do that. We try to balance the semesters. And quite frankly, there's only two ways to balance the semesters under the current law. You either have to wait till the days cycle back around and that third Monday moves up to a much earlier date, and then you can get very close to it, or you have to start stripping away traditional holiday days. There's no other way to get those 90 days in before the winter break.
And I think what that allows also is the kids that are taking finals,
Sure.
It gives them time to get back into the classroom
does,
for some review in those first 2 weeks. But we traditionally, when we've had to do this in the past, we'll get a lot of feedback that the kids are out too long over Christmas.
Oh, yeah,
or over
absolutely.
the holidays, with adding those 2 extra days and it being 2 full weeks plus 2 days. Yeah. And there's a very good reason why that's like that.
Especially, it's a long time away from school, knowing that you have to retain what you were doing in November and December until the middle of January now, because it didn't end the semester.
And to that point, that is the reason for the week between the end of the semester. You're coming back in, you're actually still doing regular classwork before moving into the exam week. gives them time to get back into school mode, for lack of a better term, before they walk into an exam.
Well, a lot of review time and
Yeah.
catch back up.
Yeah.
Well, the other negative to this is anybody that's going to be a first semester graduate.
Yeah, that's a big hit.
Go into, whether it's college, tech school, military or otherwise, you can't do that because you don't have a diploma in hand. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, some of the downside we've heard, obviously, that's one of the biggest ones is the early graduates. We know there's some concern with APs on some of the classes that are only semester-based, not year-round. The majority of them are year-round, but there are some semester-based ones that run into issues with this. And quite frankly, this is the calendar we try to avoid as often as possible, whenever we can.
How long has it been since we had to have a?
This would be the first one we've had it after, I believe, at least in 4 years. I think actually during the first COVID year, because we had to push the date back so much. I think that, but again, that threw it way back into January.
When it was only every other day.
And that was because of the situation at that point. But this would be the first calendar we've put in, I believe, since the first year I joined. So it would be about 5 or 6 years ago since we actually recommended a calendar like this type of split. And again, it's going to cycle this way for a year or so, and then it'll shift back around. That's usually maybe 2 years, I think, is where it comes to be an issue, and then we go back to getting the dates a little bit higher. Mainly what you're looking for right there in August is for that one to move back around to Sunday.
Right. You got one more year of it because this is leap year.
Yeah, you needed to get it back to Sunday. When you get it back to Sunday, that date shifts, and you're a week actually ahead of starting.
15th instead.
Yep. So that is the biggest challenge of this. Some of the other things that are required in law that you see in this calendar, you're going to see in the other one. There are 10 yellow days up there. Law requires that we have 10 for better. They're called different things, but teacher work days. We have 5 at the start of the year, and then we have 5 that are spread throughout the year. They usually fall at certain key points for grading or turn of semester, or obviously the one at the end of the year to close out school. In policy, we have certain holidays that we take off. Obviously, the Martin Luther King Day, the President's Day. Obviously, the winter break is in there. All of those are days that they're reoccurring. The orange days are the carryover, the 2-hour early release days, which we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. That's been something that I think both from the community and from teachers, it's been a very positive aspect to come through. So those are carried over into this calendar as well, too.
And those are not as a result of anything in the law.
Nope, those
but
are just
they meet
district
the law because we
decides.
have so many seat minutes.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yep. We fall well under the required seat minutes for the week, so we're able to provide those days spread out through the year. And as usual, they're strategically placed. If you look, they're either at the end of a month or leading into a holiday, those kinds of things, to try to make it a little bit easier on our community whenever we're having these things scheduled. And they're all on Fridays too. That's the other thing. I think Friday is usually a day that gives a little bit more flexibility. All right, any other questions about this calendar before we move on?
And it's got the 3 half days.
It does have the 3 half days, and 2 of those are the end of the year. And then there's one you'll see right before the semester rolls over, and that's a request by our high schools. They like having that half day right before because they'll give exams in the morning. Those exams will end. There's no need for the kids to be there, and then they will actually get started on rolling that semester that afternoon with their staff. And then that leads into the teacher workday the next day. And then you kind of have the same situation at the end of the school year. You have exams on one of those days, or both of those days actually, and then it rolls into the end of the school year.
I know it's not officially a holiday because it's a Sunday, but I think I remember that Easter is really late.
It is very late this year. It's the 20th of April on that year.
Okay.
So we're actually leading into Easter with our spring break. It's very late. And that's one of the other issues with this calendar. If you start to look at it, it's hard to see in this view. If you look at it on our traditional printout calendar where they're all lined up together, you can see it's a long period from the end of February till we get to spring break. The only time in between is the teacher work day on the 17th and the early release day on the 28th. So it's a stretch. That's one of the longest stretches in our calendar, on this calendar. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the law. And this piece has been in the law for a while. It just never had a definition, and nobody ever really explained what exactly a modified year-round calendar is. But if you read the law right now, it says that beginning in 2007-08 school year, the opening day for students must not be before the 3rd Monday in August, except for schools operating on a year-round modified school calendar. That is all the information they give you about a year-round modified school calendar in the law. They don't list out any of the stuff like they do in their traditional calendar. They don't say how many days it needs to have, if there's specific breaks or anything along those lines. So starting in 2019, I've got a couple memos, 2019, 2021, and specifically the biggest one in 2022. There were some memos sent to the State Department of Ed or memos sent by the State Department of Ed, which they reference this particular section. The first two are just kind of in passing that say, look, under the law, we don't have any oversight into what a year-round calendar is. And they were kind of, it wasn't focused on, but it was said in there as part of some other things. In the 2022 memo last year, they flat out said, we don't govern modified calendars. All we can tell you is that you have to go to school for a minimum of 180 days, and your contract people have to work for 190 days, and you've got to follow the specific days in the law. So what we have seen over the last 2 years is school districts starting to develop their own versions of a modified calendar. And they vary. There are some that are as far from a modified year-round calendar as you can get, and some are, close to what you would think would be the definition of it. I will say in the memo in 2022, the State Department did provide a link, if I can find the document here I've got, to a Congressional Research Service brief that came out in 2014 that kind of talks about what a modified year-round calendar is, but it's wildly variant. It more just gives suggestions on what they believe it could be. It gives a couple of examples between two different states that are wildly different from each other. So to be honest, there's no specific definition as to what it is. So what we've done, similar to some of the other school districts, is we've created a version of what we would consider a modified year-round calendar that we think could achieve a lot of things. Number one, it would give us a lot more flexibility in our calendar. It would allow more time for remediation with our students during the school year instead of waiting to summer school or some of the after-school programs. And it still gets close to meeting when we want to be in and out of school. There's some changes to it that we'll talk about with the lengths of summer. And there's some time in the school year you'll see where a lot of our staff, our 190-day employees, like our teachers and stuff like that, would not be in school. Our students would not be in school for the remediation time. So unless anybody's got any questions about this particular part, I'll get right to the best screen here. All right, so we see some new colors that you guys are probably not familiar with. I'm running out of colors, so if anybody has any suggestions on better ones to use, I will certainly do that. But if you look at this calendar, as opposed to the other calendar that we had up there just a minute ago, our teachers would actually look at coming back the last week of July. So you're talking July 29th, 30th, 31st through August 1 and 2. And that's a traditional 5-day week. Now that week is roughly 2 weeks ahead of where it would normally be at. It's a little different because, again, like we talked about calendar, timings may or may not change every year, but about 2 weeks ahead in this calendar. Students will then also start about 2 weeks ahead on the 5th. So we're starting at the beginning of August, basically. We're going to bring all our teachers back in, get our students back in, and get rolling on this. What this calendar does is, number one, it allows us to do a 90-90 perfect split before the Christmas break for all of our students. And then it adds a couple things. If you look in October, we have the traditional teacher workday on the 14th, and then you see those 4 pink, purple, fuchsia, whatever you want to call them, days following that. Those would be the remediation days for the first semester. And what I mean by that is, again, our students would technically that would be a student holiday. Those 4 days beyond the yellow day would be a staff holiday if you're 190 or below, with the exception of we would contract with our teachers and staff needed, those who choose to come in and work those days to work with our students who qualify and need remediation. So those days would be above and beyond the 190 that are already in their contract. So we would have to work through that. All of our other employees that are above 190 would continue to work. The district would stay open. We would still have services as we normally do. We would have administrators available to be doing stuff in schools as well too. So that's additional time that they can work on things that need to be done mid-semester. They can even help with some of the classroom or class work that may be done there. District staff would obviously still be here, work in the office. Office would maintain running. It would just be for those employees that are 190 or below, because that's above their contract hours unless they are choosing to come in and be a part of it.
190 means to the public,
190 days, yeah, is their district contract. Yep. So that would be a week in October. The rest of the calendar looks pretty similar to like you normally would see. We have the November 5th day off. Thanksgiving is just as it is. In this one, we would go to school through the 19th and 20th, with the 20th being a half day leading out. The semester would roll in January on the 3rd this time, and when the students come back on the 6th on that Monday, they're going to start fresh if they're in high school. Of course, they're elementary, middle, they'll continue where they're going. But that calendar, again, looks pretty much similar to the other one in the January, February, with normal days off until you hit March. We talked earlier about that long stretch from February to April. So what we did was we dropped in another 4 days of the remediation into that month to also help give a break. But there's our second semester chance to work with our students again, get anybody in there that needs extra help, extra work, or needs some more time or a little extra focus. That gives us that time in the spring semester. And then we roll through Easter, and this one actually would be the week following spring break. Because of having that break in March, we now can break it up about 4 weeks before we have another week-long break. We don't want to have a week-long break and then 2 weeks and another week-long break. That's a little bit tough to do for everybody. The out date on this one would have us out basically the week following Memorial Day. We would finish on that Thursday, the 29th, with estimated graduation obviously on the 30th, again, depending on sites and services.
So, I'm sorry, so the Memorial Day is the 26th, so
Yes.
we would still,
We would still get out.
we would still go beyond Memorial
Yes.
Day, okay. But not 2 weeks beyond, which is. what
Not
happened
2 weeks
to the other
beyond
one.
was what happened to the other one. And we started hearing some interesting feedback this past year, or actually I guess some of our high school principals have heard it before, but I started hearing it this past year where we graduated on Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
And we had a lot of grumbling that I wasn't prepared for. We had never heard that being an issue before, but having graduation on the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend was, I guess, not ideal. And it would be tight to move some things around, and it may mess with the pure 90-90 model. We could try to get there where we were graduating out, but it really actually fit better to follow the weekend after the Memorial Day holiday in this calendar.
Joe, I haven't looked at the details. I know in the clippings, I see one school district after another announcing a modified year-round calendar. I don't know if most of them are getting out by Memorial Day, and the other question I would wonder is if many are taking the full week at Thanksgiving.
From what I've seen, there are, again, it's wildly variant, but from what I've seen, there are not many that are doing a full week at Thanksgiving. And most of them are getting out about the same time that we're talking about getting out. I've seen one that starts a little bit later in August. So there was a calendar that instead of starting on the 5th, they came in on the 12th. Actually, I think they came, weirdly enough, they started their students on the 9th, I believe, which was like the 8th or 9th, which was the first day of school, was a Thursday or Friday. I don't know how that would work.
Are we able to do kindergarten staggered start again?
As far as we know, we have not heard anything of that program ending. So that's why it's nice to have that week.
That's also been one of the requests in years past is
Yeah.
can we start midweek and sort of ease into a couple days of school before 5 straight days?
For about 20 years,
Yeah.
before all y'all were born, we started on a Wednesday every week.
Right. Yes.
I wish I was 20, Chuck. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, so we could. The problem with staggered start is you have to do that with a week start because you have 4 days of it. You wouldn't want to wrap that into another week.
Right.
So I think it's a trade-off. It's either you start midweek and bring everybody in, or you run with a staggered start. And what we heard, staggered start, I think, Peter, you probably can say to this, but staggered start's been a very popular program.
I don't think there's any question. It's wonderful for kindergarten.
Yeah. Everybody else is a little rough
First
with.
through 5th, and everybody
Yeah.
else that
Yes.
might feel differently.
Yeah, that might be the issue. The one thing you can't see from this calendar, obviously, and is going to be the biggest question, is what happens to summer. So I've gone back and tracked it from the time we get out of school in May of 24 and start coming in here if we go with the 5th, the date we have, it would be a 9-week summer for students and an 8-week for staff. Generally, right now, I believe it would normally be an 11 and 10 in this numbered calendar year, but most traditional summers are 9 and 10. 9 for staff, 10 for students. Again, this is that year where summer's getting pushed so far out because of the late start date. Exactly. The late start date gives you that extra week. But in a year where we can get in a relatively decent earlier start in August, it's a 9-10. So this would push the 9-10 to be an 8-9. Yeah. So yeah, technically this particular calendar year, it would feel like you're losing 2 weeks, but that's only because of the extreme late start on the 19th.
The remediation days, remediation week, if you will.
Yep.
You said it's not anything that's legally required.
It is not legally required anywhere. The law does not make any stipulations for it, and the State Department of Education has been very clear that they do not moderate what goes into a modified year-round
So
calendar.
we don't know what percentage of students and staff might be impacted by that week versus having the week off.
We don't, but starting on Monday, we have a survey that we're going to send out to all of our staff and all of our students and parents. When I say students, I mean parents, to get their feedback on this. We're explaining about the remediation time. We're explaining about how the modified calendar works. We've even explained how the summer would make that change as part of it. So beginning Monday, we're going to be sending that survey out to all staff and all of our parents. As part of the staff one, we've added another question to find out how many of our teachers would be interested in coming in and working that time frame. So we would know, if we're going to have a significant number of staff to be able to cover whatever we would pull through. And then obviously the parents can provide their feedback about what they would feel as far as having their students available to do the remediation weeks. And again, a lot of that's going to come from the structure that we would build if we move forward with this calendar too.
And we don't know what 8 additional days of some instruction would cost because we don't know how big the
And
numbers
that's something else that has to be determined. Is it going to be an hourly day? Is it a stipend rate? Is it a summer school rate that we normally use? That's all stuff that has to be determined before we can do that. Before we put in all of that work to lay these programs out, we wanted to see if this was something our community and our board and our staff wanted to move forward with.
Joe, so how much conversation have we had with the other schools?
I've talked to Clover about theirs. I've talked to and again, this is with other PIOs and there. A lot of people, like I said, as Dr. Epsmith, Clover went ahead and did this for this coming year. They wanted to get their early start and wanted to move forward with it.
18 districts are currently doing it.
Yeah, so 18 out of the 79.
Next year it looks to be like in the 40s.
Yes. This is becoming the trend for this. And I'll be completely honest with you, part of the trend for this is because they want the earlier start date.
Now, interestingly enough, some of the districts, the first semester, and that's all the data we have, reported to the superintendents that they didn't have many children choose for the remediation.
Be a part of it.
Offer it as a district. So, that's one of the reasons we're doing it. You would hope we would at least have the kids who are struggling, but they gotta wanna come. We can't make them come.
Yeah.
So that'd be something I guess we would have to learn over time, how many teachers.
I mean, take advantage of it to come through.
Take advantage
Yeah.
of it.
And that's something too. I mean, I think again, in talking about building those processes, we would probably start, I would assume, in the weeks leading up to those, identifying the kids and getting them in some type of registration process to say, hey, are you coming? And then that would, in turn, tell us exactly how many of those teachers we would need on the other end.
And I'm looking to see if she's here. We suggest who we think would benefit from
Yes.
Space Camp or whatever type.
Yeah, it would be a targeted and qualification type situation. I mean, obviously we will try to help everybody we can, but it would be a targeted because we want to make sure that the students who are really needed are the ones getting the most focus on this.
And so go ahead.
Well, let me just one more thing on that. And it's intended to be a break unless a student is in that situation.
Yes.
So in other words, it would mean childcare.
It would.
For the other students who would not be a part of a week-long remediation, right?
Now, I will share this anecdotally, and I apologize just to answer this back. I will say this anecdotally. Some of the parents that I've talked to already about this, when they hear that there might be a week in October and a week in March, their first thought is, wow, we can visit some of the places in the off-season and not have to pay as much for it. So that's some of the feedback I've got. But yes, there definitely is going to be some child care issues and things that people are going to have to work through. Yeah, of course. Okay. Obviously, we have working parents, so we're going to have to see where this all goes with having these 2 weeks, for sure.
From a benchmarking perspective, as we've spoken with the other schools, we're similarities in how we're going about the process?
Yeah, I think we're going to be I don't ever want to compare us to how we do our communication with our parents to any other district, but our goal with this is to be as overly communicative as we can to get as much feedback. That's why we're just having a discussion tonight. It's not a first reading. It's not a suggestion at this point. We really want to get the feedback from everybody and really see where this goes. I mean, it may be that our staff comes back and says, no, we don't like this. Maybe their parents come back and says, there's no way we can deal with 2 weeks. And then the calendar might change a little bit again. I mean, we can, maybe those 4 days get cut down to 2, or maybe we look at some other options with this, or maybe we drop it all together depending on what the feedback is. I think.
For the law.
Yeah, or the law. That's the other thing too, and I was alluding to this earlier. I do think at some point the legislature is going to address this. They're either going to finally say, okay, you guys won, you can start your schools whenever you want to, or they may put in specifics that have to be included into something like this. At some point, they're going to, whether it's next year or 5 years from now, at some point they're going to address it. If 40 to 50 school districts out of the 79 are doing it, you're going to see it.
It's going to be more than that. So I spent this past weekend with about 20 or so other school districts and region directors for the School Boards Association. We had sidebar discussion because this wasn't our focus in terms of why we were there. And of those districts, there were several of them who said the exact same thing. They're talking about it, looking at it. They're probably not going to implement it in the fall of this year, but for next year, yeah, they're planning to go to that and have already made made ready for it.
Yeah.
I've also had some conversation with some of our legislators on this same subject, because most of you that know me know this has been a near and dear subject for me for about 7 years now. I know, right? You've never heard that. I know. Much to a certain senator from a certain beach community, his school district is probably going to defy him too. So, my biggest question or concern, well, so on the legislators component to it, it has been the overwhelming response so far that they're kind of waiting to see, but when we hit a roughly 50% mark in the state of state districts that are doing this, they're not going to have anything to fight about any longer, is the indication. My biggest question, and I'm glad that you've already got it set up and ready, is I want to hear from staff what their feelings are with relation to this, and recognizing and understanding it is going to be a short summer the first year. Everything we do a first time is short. Kind of like when we came back from COVID, that was a short summer. But it pays off in the time off in the future. So hopefully that will somewhat balance things. So I definitely want to hear from staff, and I would encourage principals, especially those that are here, please make sure that your staff does not wait for their neighbor to respond to the survey. Your staff needs to respond to the survey so that we hear and know what's going on, because surveys are only as good as the number of people that actually participate. 20% of the population is not a good participative member. The same, I would say, is true to the public. You know what? We hear from those that are disgruntled the most. We don't hear from those that are pleased with what's going on nearly as much as I would love to. So it's really critically important that our public takes the time to respond to the survey. It is just as important for them and impacts them just the same as it does our staff. But I want to hear from our staff.
Yeah,
we'll just assume that whatever response we don't get, they're just happy.
That's right. They support whatever we decide to do.
No news is good news.
That's right.
Yep. And we're planning to survey all staff. We're going to send this to our transportation people, our student nutrition people, our maintenance people. Everybody's going to be included on this one, because this truly does affect every department. I mean, this really would be something that is, and that's again why we're taking this pace with it. And taking this tact with it, because this is a significant shift in how we have done school calendars for longer than I've been in school.
So I need to add for the board and the public's benefit, I have had discussions with Leroy Springs, have not talked to Carowinds, because they're going to be impacted too, positively or negatively. But early indications are most camps see some of this coming,
Right.
and they'll just shift around and adopt.
Well-
They'll get the Leroy's okay with it because they'll just do something during the intercession.
And a
Well, and some of the
conversation,
things-
I don't want, but let me
Yeah,
before.
no, go ahead.
A conversation that I had a couple of years ago when I was running a Pitchfork. I spoke with the president, I don't know what we actually call her, at Carowinds, and her response to me was straight up, we don't care what y'all do, just tell us and give us enough time to make the adjustments accordingly. And Carowinds is now going to year-round, so their impact may be minimal or different shifting, so, but that was the response that I had, because that was something that our legislators wanted to know. Well, what does Carowinds say? Well, I spoke to them, and this is what she said. So, I think it's a lot of ways, it's the same as what our staff wants.
And
Give us
there's a-
enough time to adjust and be ready.
And there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. I mean, obviously sports is the one question. We're gonna have to look at the impacts on them. We do have after-school programs there. Since the building's gonna be open, are we gonna allow those to keep going, depending on who's, so there are a lot of questions we have to go through, to work through all of those plans of how those weeks would work. We may adopt that we treat it like we treat spring break, or we may go a different route because the buildings are technically open. And all of those are decisions that we'll have to work through.
Do you know if in the state of South Carolina, any of the districts are doing what I would consider more of a true year-round calendar that has more of just a 6-week summer?
I have not seen one.
Greenwood.
Greenwood has one? I have not seen theirs.
I know I have
Okay.
friends from Raleigh and Atlanta and
Yeah.
who have had kids that had what they call year-round.
Yeah.
Now, it does still have a 6-week summer, but obviously a good bit shorter than even this has.
Greenwoods I haven't seen, but the rest of the ones I've seen, they're not. And again, in looking at what this document that the State Department sent through, I mean, I believe it's Oklahoma is one of the examples in here. Their example is 180 days over the course of 10 months.
They still have an 8-week.
We're already doing that. We do 180 days in 10 months. I mean, our traditional calendar is 180 days in 10 months, so it would qualify as a year-round calendar under that model, whereas one of the other models, and I can't remember what state it is, they reference, they don't want the summer any longer than 5 to 6 weeks. So there are a lot of models out there. But the ones that are the 5 to 6 week summer, there's a break every month, basically. It's usually every 4 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, it's every 4 weeks or so, there's a week or 2 week break.
Yeah, I've seen some where it's like 6 weeks and then 2 weeks off, and 6
Yeah.
weeks and 2 weeks off.
Those are truer.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, those are more realistic as far as the actual real year-round. I think that's why this being called a modified year-round calendar is a little bit different. I do think our calendar submission, this calendar submission, I do think is more in the spirit of what was intended for the modified year-round calendar versus some of the ones I have seen out there. And I do think that it does make a actual real effort with those weeks to offer our students additional services.
So, Joe, the next steps, just to be clear, are, it sounds like the survey and the feedback session starts Monday.
Yeah, we'll open it. We're going to email it out to everybody on Monday. There'll be a link coming in their email as we traditionally send out. They'll be able to fill out the feedback. It's going to ask them the traditional questions. Are you a parent? What school do your kids attend? That kind of thing. It is anonymous, though. We're just trying to gauge the feedback by grade level, school, that kind of stuff. And then there'll be a free form, and they can fill out any feedback they want to fill out in there. They can tell us how much they love it, don't like it, this part, not that part. And then again, like I said, on the staff side, there'll be some additional questions about, especially for our certified teachers, are you interested in working during the remediation if a compensation package is available, that kind of thing. So we're going to try to gather as much info right off the bat as we can.
And so since we're talking 24, 2
Yep.
years out, at some time in the spring, once you've compiled all that, you'll bring it back and we'll do the traditional review and approval that I
Yeah,
think
the
our
two-
policy says we do in the spring.
Yep, I think that would be the best way to approach this. To give us really a lot of time to digest the feedback we get back through, maybe make modifications or scrap altogether, one of the two. So you guys will all be getting it as well, so please make sure you fill it out.
You know it.
All right. Any other questions for me?
I just want to throw out really fast that if you could not make November 1st a holiday after Halloween, that I think having it as an early release day is excellent, and many, many people will be excited.
That's very possibly why it ended up on that day. Shortens the day for costumes at school and as much Sugar Rush candy as you can get. So,
Well, and as someone who's dealt with high school students, finals, both before holiday break, after graduation for Memorial Day weekend, and not, the first calendar that you presented, while I appreciate the work and the effort,
it's a tough calendar.
I don't like that calendar or anything about it.
Yeah, it's
So,
that to me.
not that that was a
I
surprise.
knew coming in with that calendar that meets absolutely none of the goals that we have in the district. And the flip side of that, going to the extreme shortened semester of 84 days also doesn't meet the goals we have in the district. So we're kind of it's one of those situations where we just have to either soldier forward and go with it, or we look at other options like this.
And the only thing that is a little wild card out there, which we won't know for a while, is if we're opening new schools in 25 and 26 and 27.
I already had that thought.
We're going to have construction people who are going to want to beg us to stretch it out.
Get ready, Mr. Romanek.
So,
Chop, chop.
But again, that's why we're giving them 2 to 3 years to look at that. So, yeah. All right, guys. Anything else from me?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Gray, you're gonna have to, I'm sorry, Mr. Young, you're gonna have to help me. We've got an action item. I don't have in my document what all policies. I know you and I have talked about a handful of different things that we might need to visit, but mine doesn't have anything attached, so. Well, am I the only one that doesn't have anything
No,
attached?
I don't have it.
I don't think it's
There's
not
nothing attached because it's an administrative rule, and an administrative rule does not, by board policy, require us to vote on it.
Okay.
I don't need this. I appreciate it, but I don't need this.
Okay, well, you can have it. And this is not nearly as exciting as the calendar, so I apologize, but it'll be a lot quicker. So we are making one small change, or we are recommending one small change to EBCR, remote instruction. This is under the EBC emergencies policy. Really, we're just taking out, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but we're taking out for example, if a teacher utilizes text messaging to communicate with a student, parents should be included on the text message chain as well. We would not encourage any of our staff to be text messaging with our students. So we took that out and we added staff should use district approved communication tools. We have a couple of district approved communication tools. We've recently started using, we're in a contract with Remind, the Remind app, and we are asking all of our coaches and clubs and all of that to use the Remind app to communicate with students. And then we also have Google Classroom, which our teachers are already using to communicate with students. And then that's a little different than Blackboard. People will say, well, where's Blackboard come in? That is our mass communication tool that we use to communicate with parents and teachers and whatnot. So that's just a small change to that policy, or that administrative rule.
But it's an administrative rule, just.
It is an administrative rule. Yep.
Even though it's listed as an action item, it
Right.
does not actually require a vote for the action item. It's an action that you're gonna take.
Correct. Just to give you a little background, this administrative rule was put in when to use for like weather, because now we can use remote instruction during weather or a water main break or whatever we've had in the last 3 or 4 years. High winds. If we need to go virtual for a day or remote, then we can do that under the policy and administrative rule.
I was going to say, is there a reason why we use the word should instead of will?
We can change it to will. Yeah.
Shall. I mean, just.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave it to interpretation. Well, you should be doing that, but.
Right. I like it. Good. I will parent. Okay, hold on. Staff will.
District approved
Gotcha.
communications.
Okay. I'll change that. That's good.
All right.
All right. The next item is the suspensions of some administrative rules / policies. These 3 policies: ADD, face covering, EBR, maintaining healthy environments, and EEAR, student transportation, were put in with COVID. So we will now be going back we'll be going to pre-COVID, taking these policies out will be pre-COVID policies. AD, right, administrative rules. ADD, face covering, obviously was what defined face shields when the governor had the mandate for face masks. Maintaining healthy environments was really just implementing the safety measures for cleaning when we had the COVID rooms and all of that. And then the EEAR, student transportation, was describing how students, buses, how we should enter the bus, how we should get on the bus, get off the bus, how students should go straight to the classrooms because we didn't want them in the commons areas and whatnot. So just suspending those three.
And so just to be clear, I think you went back through, because we're not really, those policies are not actively being followed
Correct.
today.
They're not.
And so you're cleaning up anything that is still on the books but is not a current protocol.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And we've already done some of that in the past.
Just to get clear interpretation, suspension meaning removed totally.
It will be off the books.
Great, thank you.
Back to pre-COVID.
If you go on our website and go to our board policies, you will not be able to find it.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
I do. I just want to go back to the communication piece, and this
Okay.
may not be the time, but I'm putting it out there. And I'm curious, how often are we evolving the remote instruction?
Not very often. I mean, we put it, the only reason we're looking at it now is because of the Remind, and we don't want to encourage our teachers. The reason we're using Remind is because we don't want private text messaging going on between staff and students. And so that's one of the good things about Remind, the Remind app. It allows us to, and it centralizes everything. A principal of a school will have access to all of that. An administrator will have access. When currently staffs, clubs, coaches are using all kinds of different apps, Band app, Remind, whatever it is. But this just kind of pulls everything together.
Thank you.
So was that your question, or were you asking about how
I'm sorry.
often we're
That's
doing remote instruction?
Exactly. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, that was
'Cause
not, no.
we
Not very often.
want to, but-
Correct. Yeah, no.
Marvin's break
But
and-
when we do, that's where I was.
Yes. Yep. When we do have a need for remote instruction, we are able to go to that under this policy, under the EBC policy.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Section 8 is all yours.
That was quick. I was over here waiting on discussion. Okay. Excuse me. Calendar of events. It's exciting to get back to school after the first semester, after the Christmas break. But it's a typical month in regards to the calendar. The work day was on the 3rd. Their students returned on the 4th. Thank goodness. The board meeting tonight. And we got the MLK weekend coming up, the Monday off. The meeting on the 24th will be the board retreat starting at 12 noon. We'll learn a little more about that later. Then back to the 2-hour early release. The 28th is an exciting day, and I might have to get Liza to say a few words. We're having a recruitment fair. Tell them a little bit about what we're doing there for the public in regards to the Saturday event. You might want to get up on the.
Yeah. So our distance friends can hear.
A lot of districts are going to recruitment fair because of the teacher shortages, and so this is our effort at it.
So yeah, I'm very excited to share that in our HR department and with the support and collaboration of district office admin and our school-based admin, that we are, for the first time, having a networking/recruiting event that will take place on Saturday, January 28th. And our hopes are that we can do some very early recruiting and hiring. We've received staff responses back from our existing staff, and we're already starting to learn of some retirements and some separations that we're going to have. So this jump start is something that our principals have indicated they're very excited about. We're excited about. we're shocked. I don't know if you read in your school board clips, there was a story probably about a month or so ago about Charleston having to cancel their event because they only had like 22. And if you know anything, of course, in our state about Charleston, when we go to recruiting fairs, Charleston typically has hundreds of interested candidates while we sit there twiddling our thumbs, depending on what university we're at. But we're excited. We have 110 people scheduled.
Wow.
Candidates, yes. So the candidates are made up of what would be induction teachers, so new graduates who will be looking for work beginning in July, August. And it'll also include other teachers that are in our area that are currently working at other districts, as well as teachers from out of state. I know. So we are excited. We initially were just going to open it up to new graduates of South Carolina and North Carolina universities, and then we had so much interest. So we have advertised, you probably all seen the notification on Facebook, on Peach Jar. Also, we're getting it out there on Twitter, and so social media is, every day. But we are very excited, and we hope that you'll be able to join us. The event will be from 10 to 1. Again, on the 28th of January at Nation Ford High School Auditorium. And we will start off with just a few minutes of a formal program. It'll be a little bit different than some other events maybe you've attended because we can see, based on our RSVPs that we've received, there are many candidates who are not from this area. And so we think that it's very important to share very, specific data about Fort Mill School District. And that fact sheet that Joe Burke maintains and really keeps up to date on our main webpage, we're going to highlight some of that data that we feel is very important. Of course, Renee Sauls is new to our department or in our position of Director of Recruitment, Retention, and Evaluation. And she's had some wonderful ideas, and she has really kind of taken the lead in our department with this, but of course with the help of many. So we are very excited. And again, 110, that's huge right now with the teacher shortage. So we are very pleased.
When you look at the list, and you said some of them are not from the area, if they are from far away,
yes,
just highlighting benefits of this general area of the country, beaches, mountains, Charlotte, those kind of things for people who, if they're coming from Ohio, and unless they all have family here, which they might already have visited, so, to understand not just about Fort Mill, but about the Charlotte metro region, too.
Exactly.
Professional sports teams, we have them.
Yes. And we do have.
They try to be professional sports teams.
But we do have several candidates who are registered from Pennsylvania and other northern states. So that's great. We've reached out to the Chamber of Commerce to ask if they would like to be present, and they have responded very positively. So yeah, we will be providing lunch, a little something nice, just a mini box lunch for those who have registered as well.
But it's not a drop-in. It's from 10 to 1.
It is 10 to 1.
All right.
So yeah, it's going to be a little bit structured, but I think we kind of obtained feedback from our principals. And then there will be opportunities for every school to have a classroom or two that they can actually interview on site with candidates that they are interested in.
This is going to take the board's permission to release some early contracts, which we've talked to you about in the past, and we would hope to do that. It's truly competitive out there now, as you can imagine. Of course, we have a good product to sell. The reputation of the district attracts folks. The transfer portal is alive and well, not only in college football, but in this teacher shortage. So we're just trying to position ourselves to attract the best of the best and to maintain the quality. So 125, that's amazing. I didn't realize Charleston only had 20.
Yeah, I think it's 22. Yeah.
Well, might have to do with what they've been doing down there lately.
Hope we don't have a weather event that weekend. In fact, I hope we have a beautiful, sunny January weekend for those people from Pennsylvania to see how nice it is here in January.
Yeah.
That's exactly
It
right.
works for me.
Real.
But thank you. And regarding the calendar, I know some of the questions, I will tell you our OEC HR group There are several of our consortium districts who are either currently have this modified calendar, Chesterfield, Fairfield, and then other districts, as you mentioned, like Clover and York are looking at this for next year. We've had a lot of communication. And they, similarly as what Joe Burke was describing, they indicated that they surveyed faculty, staff, and parents, and that it seemed to be favorable. So, you know, that's the little bit of feedback that I've received and heard from them. But thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liza. Enrollment up, any questions about that, the calendar? Any dates that I failed to mention, board members? Okay, the enrollment update, typically in January, we have the December numbers, and they show an increase from the first semester, the end of the first semester. So the new numbers are 18,254, a gain of 33 students. Now, I will say that the winter grad seniors have not been dropped out of the numbers, so next month we'll show 55 early graduates or December graduates. But as of last week, we had 37. As of Thursday, we had 37 appointments in the pipeline for students to enroll, so I think we'll very quickly get back on track.
So you think you get to 18.6?
I thought that in August, didn't I?
Oh, no, it's just a question, but no, I know the,
Let's say 18,550. No, I don't know. We'll see. Warm weather.
Yeah. Based on the apartments that Leanne
Yeah,
said they're
that's-
building, right?
Yeah.
Apartments, townhomes, new
Okay.
homes, yeah.
The questions about that. The teacher attendance winners for the month for December, we had Fort Mill High with 94.6 lead the high school, Springfield Middle attendance rate of 94.2 to lead the middles, and Sugar Creek Elementary led the district and the elementary schools with attendance rate, teacher attendance rate of 95.495. So great. And that's all I have. I will say January is School Board Appreciation Month, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the next meeting, and honor our school board members at that time.
I assume that's why we had these little buntlets up here.
It is. Those are courtesy of Fort Mill Middle School.
That's right.
That's yours. All right.
All right. Anything else from you? If not, we are in need of an executive session to discuss personnel recommendations, legal issues, and contractual issues. I'd entertain a motion for executive session.
Motion to go into executive session?